The Los Angeles Lakers are, as we speak, scrambling to reshape the Anthony Davis trade in order to create $32 million in salary cap space, and thus that would give them the ability to sign a max free agent. In order to do it, the Lakers may have to get rid of 3 of the remaining 4 players on their roster, which is astonishing when you think about it. All of this reporting, of course, coming from our friend Woj, who is here along with Bobby Marks. And we're going to go to the screen here, guys, so that you can give us a sense of really what's going on with this Lakers salary cap situation and what it means to a basketball fan watching at home.
Well, Greeny, this is the Lakers roster before the trade was agreed upon on Saturday. And this is what the roster will look like if they find a 3rd or 4th team to possibly send the money of Mo Wagner, Isaac Bonga, Jamario Jones here. And why that's important is that preserves the $32 million in available cap space to go out and split that money up on a player like, well, we won't move him.
Okay, just say it.
Player like Danny Green,
okay,
Jeremy Lamb, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And that money would go into that $32 million slot. And then what that would do, then you would be able to make the Anthony Davis trade. And by combining the 3 new players, that would fall within 125% of his money. That would all be simultaneously. The key part is Davis would have to waive that $4 million trade bonus to make the deal work. If he doesn't waive it, then this deal is not possible. So that's the key part, and it's all a matter of how they go about splitting that money. 1 player, possibly 3 or 4 players. If this does not happen, then the Lakers are back down to $24 million in cap space to go out and split that money up again.
There's a feeling out there, and maybe it's just inside of my head here, Woj, but help me with this, that these are mechanics that probably should have been handled ahead of time and were not. Would that be an unfair criticism for someone in my position to make?
Well, the Lakers are trying to get an agreement in place. They didn't have a 3rd team or a 4th team to broaden that deal. They had an agreement with New Orleans to get Anthony Davis, and they got the deal done. They still had fear he could be traded somewhere else. So they always had a chance to revisit this, come back, but for them, they wanted to get some kind of an agreement in place.
But one way or another, whether they wind up somehow getting themselves to $32 million or if they stay in the neighborhood of 24, are they more likely to split that up and try and sign multiple players than go after one big name?
Greeny, when you have a max slot like that, you better have a player who reaches the standard of a max contract and not overpaying somebody, especially when you have no depth. They're not getting Kawhi Leonard. They're not getting Kyrie Irving. Klay Thompson's injured. KD's out the next year. They weren't getting any of those players to begin with. When you get to that next tier, you are probably better off not putting all that money into one guy, but breaking it up. And some of the players Bobby showed we had on the board up there, because all you need is one injury in the course of a season, and now you're left with no depth. You're so top heavy, and you've seen in recent years here that look at the rosters in Milwaukee, Toronto, Boston. These were deep rosters. You need more than 2 guys, 3 guys to win.
Yep, so the Lakers may need to do a little more work here before we just put those 2 guys together. Laura, Jay and Jalen, what do you have?
Well, it's interesting, Greeny, because just as you guys were discussing that, Jalen, you said that's why it doesn't matter when we're talking about cap room for the Lakers, whether it's 23 or 32. Expound on that point.
Woj just said it, and he's exactly right. There isn't a max free agent that you want to pay that top dollar to anyway. Okay? He mentioned the 4 guys that you would give that money to already with Anthony Davis and LeBron James on the roster and an ascending Kyle Kuzma. So now you do what I feel like they should do anyway. Build out your roster. They're going to need help at a backup big. They're going to need help in the backcourt. And they're obviously going to need depth on their bench. But when I look down at my team and I see LeBron James in uniform, and I see Anthony Davis in uniform, I'm good. And people are going to want to come sacrifice to play with those guys.
I will say this. I think if you have $32 million as opposed to 23, that maybe allows you to solidify a 3rd option. And it's not going to be a free agent, max free agent 3rd option, but you still have to plan into the fact LeBron James turning 35. What happens if he gets injured? What happens if he re-injures himself off before? Injury still plays into this whole thing, too, while you're trying to figure out what your depth is.
Right. Feels like you need like 4+ guards, or at least 4 guards who could play 20+ minutes to take some of the load off there. Obviously, LeBron James essentially point guard in a lot of ways. Who would that player be? You just said they need somebody like that. Who is that?
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of players out there in the market. Patrick Beverly maybe can help, like the guy that can knock down shots, maybe a little bit from the outside, a defender. D'Lo is still in the conversation, even though I think he's going to want to get the max. The only problem is guys are going to want to get paid. And I think right now you're seeing an overinflation for what prices are because the cap is so high. Guys want to get paid their money.
Okay, you brought up something too earlier, and I think this is interesting. When you talk about Anthony Davis and whether or not he would actually waive that $4 million trade bonus, what do you think the likelihood of that is when you think about it from Anthony Davis's standpoint, if they were to put him in a situation where if he just waives that, then they're able to get a big-time name, even though we're saying that's not going to happen?
If there was a plan in place where I think you were showing out, hey, here's our depth, here are people that we're going to focus on. If you tell me the plan, I don't see how AD doesn't turn that down if it allows them to have a chance to win a championship. And I think some people also forget, this is a one-year audition for AD. I know he wants to be there, but nobody's saying that if this year doesn't go right, he has to stay there.
If you AD, you got to waive that $4 million.
Yeah.
You said you wanted the Lakers, you got them. There are going to be certain sacrifices we need you to make in order to build out the roster. It was no different than when the Big Three went to Miami. Each of them took a little bit of a haircut for it to make it happen. And when you're selling him on Los Angeles, it ain't just his salary with the team. You're selling him the endorsements that are going to come with it and how winning championships and playing in LA is going to maximize it. That $4 million should be water under the bridge to build out a better team.
My man just got a major endorsement the other day with Frito Lay in this shoot that he's doing. So like that comes with being in LA and being in that marketplace because of your visibility.